Okay, welcome back to Anew Narrative, and I'm doing something that I haven't done in a long time. I've got a guest. And on top of that, we're doing something we've never done before, which is no prepared questions. And the reason I have this is because I have a manifester with me. I've got Dave. Maybe you know about him, Neutrino Radio. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so in order to start us off, I figured the most challenging part for most people with a manifester is when we get told that we're not supposed to ask questions. Now, I want to set up a podcast for very comfortable communication for both of us. So I think what I first need you to tell me is it really true that questions suck?
Well, it does it in a way, yes, but not when you're invited to like a forum where the whole point is to ask and answer questions, and it's just kind of built in. So it's fun. It's like this is when you definitely get to ask me whatever you want. I might choose not to answer something,
I am
but
prepared for this. So, being as strategic as I am, I have multiple options depending on what you said to me about the questions. I was prepared to do the whole thing in statements if I needed to.
oh my God. Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to tiptoe around it. A lot of people get caught up in that. It's not, I don't think it's really a thing. I mean, it just gets, what gets annoying is like somebody is just trying to like pry or like get, I mean, I guess I could put together a better answer to this, but like when my mom tries to get all up in my business and like wondering what I'm doing with my time and my money and this and it's like that kind of stuff. Like definitely get the fuck out of my business. We can swear on your podcast, right?
We're explicit.
You think so?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just kind of it's more like the the trying to get in thing. It's like a certain energetic thing is more than just like the fact that someone's asking me a question. I mean, I understand that that's how people move through the world. Like we ask each other questions. And
Well, okay. So, on top of this, I did a little digging into your design, your three parts, right brain, right mind. I kind of wondered how anybody is supposed to pull from you if they never asked you a question. And so that hit me right away. I think you're going to get a big difference between a left brain and mind manifester and a right brain and mind because there is this want to have things pulled out of your receptivity. So a question is definitely my fastest way to do that.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's a tried and true method for getting information out of people.
I
And
was
yeah, I
also
guess there's a compulsion to to be to have somebody have me dig up information. Like, yeah, it's always fun when I'm just like, that was the name of that song, and I think it was 1985, and and if you're like, oh shit, I'm right. Yeah, that's always exciting.
okay. I am also, when you're like, I'll just skip an answer if I don't want to. I was like, I want you to know if I say anything you don't like, you just say pass, and I will move on happily to the next thing. Okay. So, my last question about questions. Is it extra good if somebody asks you if you're in the mood to have the conversation or answer the question or do the activity? Is acknowledging the mood considerate or relevant?
I guess I always appreciate that question. It's only comes from people who know me as a manifester and as an emotional person. People who are not in human design don't ask me that question, you know?
Okay. So, that leads me very much into the next thing I wanted to know about you. Your profile has to have the most projections on it of any profile. I think a 5-2 is probably going to struggle the most with projections. And like you said, if people don't know human design, they don't know to ask you those things. So if they don't know design and they don't have a label to reference you from to know how to interact with you, how do you think most people think they're supposed to interact with you just upon meeting you?
Upon meeting me, I don't know, because that's definitely different from like having known me for years. And I don't know. I don't know.
Can
Let
I
me
talk
see.
about what I felt like to meet you?
Sure.
Okay, because I found you wildly approachable. And I don't know if it's because like there we already had some pre-established communication, but I had no hesitation in wanting to ask you things. Like I remember when we were all in the park and I asked if you wanted to come sit beside me. I was like, so many people watched me just ask him if he wanted to come sit beside me, but I don't know how many of them saw him make eye contact with me before I asked that because I felt like you looked at me and got me to ask you that question.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it wasn't like I decided to get you to, but it was sort of like we're gonna there's Sam, we see each other, we're gonna interact before long. Like we're sort of like acknowledging each other, and it's not something I wanted to do, you know, frivolously. You just be like, oh yeah, hey, I know you, blah blah blah. It was like, okay, time to meet each other, you know, and then we smoked a bowl sitting on a blanket,
We
right?
smoked some weed. When I very first saw you online, that was what it got my guard down around talking to you. Was that you were just hitting your pipe and then riffing on like manifestor ad libs or something like that. And it was hilarious to me. And it was, I think, how unserious you were about things that made it like human design can be so intense and so serious and a little dramatic. And so sometimes well, you can have a good sense of humor about it. Like I find that to be it's a very attractive quality. It's approachable. It makes me want to talk to you.
Right. That kind of is my brand, I guess. But it's also I don't when I'm not showing up a lot, it might mean that I'm in a very serious state of mind. I
I
don't
was
know.
just gonna say, so where's the Dave that we don't get to see? What's he like?
A total fucking mess. Like, you know, just a neurotic person trying to decondition. It's like old worried Jewish man.
Okay, what's the hardest thing for you to decondition? What keeps kicking your ass?
Hmm. I don't know. There's some dead air for you. I'll just fill it in with an I don't know while I think about it. But, you know, probably some ego stuff, some ashna stuff. I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't think about it. I don't try to figure all this stuff out all the time. Like I don't have an answer ready for that. And for a lot of this stuff, I'm not going to. Like I don't. I I get what turns me off of human design is the feeling like I have to understand everything. It's just this constant filter that I have to be like, oh well, let's contextualize that. Like, how do we, you know, is it the sun sign? Oh no, is it the profile? It must no. Could it be this gate? It could be this gate. Oh, but it's is it fear and motivation, or is it a first line thing? Like, well, let's figure it out. Let's make sure we know. And I it gets to be so overwhelming so fast that I just like don't give a fuck, don't give a fuck. I can't even like look at the page. Like my eyes go out of focus. I just can't do it. And it used to be that I would think that that meant that I don't that I'm not doing human design anymore because I thought it was just human design that was off frequency for me, but it's just the pressure to be certain and the pressure to know and the pressure to prove yourself that you know about it and you've been doing it longer than anyone and that you are the most influential or have the most followers, or it turns into like Instagram is human design. If I'm not doing Instagram, I'm not doing human design. And like all the Facebook people are different than the Instagram people. And like this is all just human, just the very many faces of human design. And it's like, it's just social media and like I know I stepped away from the main subject there, but it's like it's all this conditioning of what we think human design is for, and what human design, what role it plays in our lives, and how we're supposed to use it. And you know, I don't know. So are we supposed to be professionals? Like, why aren't I a professional? Why aren't I? Why? Because I don't want to be one. I'm not. I don't have the attention span for it. All these things. So how's that for an answer?
That was great. Not only can I work
Yeah.
with all of that, but actually, kind of the overarching thing I want to say there is even just our conversation, I can tell how much um, expectation there is built into how certain people communicate. Like when I ask a question, I actually never care about the answer. And it's not from the answer that I want to move the conversation forward. It's like, what does the person say when I ask? How do they get lost? How do they move on to the next thing? What did they give me back that I wasn't expecting there? So if you're like, I rambled away from the topic, I'm like, I don't even remember what the topic was. Like, it's hard for me to fixate on things. We kind of just we roll where we roll. But there was a lot where I was nodding in agreement with you, as in particular, it really irks me when people think that they can identify one minuscule piece in their whole design that gets the credit for something that just happened. Like, oh, that was my 10.3.7.9 in my Pluto in my what, and that's why I said that thing to you. And I'm like, what? You're a fucking quantum. Like, it all comes together. If I build you out of Lego and I take a piece out of you, it's like taking a piece out of the Jenga tower. Like, things kind of fall apart. I don't just pin this one thing on this one thing.
Also, who cares, right? Who cares? It's like knowing how many capillaries you have in your pinky toe. It's like, I'm sure that'd be interesting to know, but it's
Like,
not
if you
gonna.
know that, I'm so interested.
I
That's a weird
don't.
thing. I'm curious.
I don't. It's just like, because we're just always trying to figure out like all the details of everything about ourselves with this thing. And um I don't know, I've like used this analogy before, but it's kind of like if you found out about this thing. Have you heard of walking?
Like with your legs.
Yeah, it's the like people used to do it. That's how they got from here to there and stuff. And it's just like this lost, like not this lost wisdom of like walking. There's all this stuff about like toes and heels and like heel toe toe heel. There's left foot and right foot feet and stuff. There's all this like, different speeds of walking. There's this thing called running. And like, I don't know, this guy like learned all about it, and you can study it and find out about all this stuff. Left foot stuff. Like, I'm learning a lot about left foot and right foot lately. I don't know, you know what
In
I mean?
my
It's just like
interpretation of the download, feet are really hands, though, because I have hands on my feet.
that's even that's like the sidereal version of it. And so like, yeah, it's just like, how much do you actually have to know about walking before you can just walk? Like, wait, just do it. Like, to some extent, you don't have to do all this analysis of everything. Like, it's just a thing that we naturally do. So yeah, I get it. Like, the type and profile and authority and it, I mean, obviously the basics are useful like all the time, and that's why even when I don't think I like human design anymore, I'm still thinking about it all day long. But knowing everything about my substructure and like everything about every line and it's interesting when it's interesting, but I don't to go out of my way to be like, oh, I have all this stuff to learn. It makes me not able to absorb anything at all. Like, just the obligation, the feeling of this is like, I have to prove it. I have to do the thing that everyone does. Like, this is what we do. We're all on this path now. We're like all going to learn everything about it, learn the system. And maybe there's like a conditioning of everyone in human design, that because it's all presented by so many projectors, projectors are the ones who like find it and they're like, oh, now they were going to dive into it and learn the system and system, and I'll tell all my friends and I'll do all the classes and I'll teach and I'll do this and that. And then the manifestors and the generators and the reflectors come in and they think sometimes this is what human design is is this. And then people will tell you it's a pyramid scheme and stuff, and like it kind of comes
The
from
coaching
that
industry.
frenzy, you know.
Okay, so you said something I want to grab for a second there when you said I stop absorbing, like I stopped taking it in. And it sounded a little bit to me like the more strategic it felt like human design had to be for you in order to play in it, the more you just shut off to being around it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, I my personal curiosities are not going to come from like, what does this line feel like? Or how does the sign feel? Or how I want to know things about you. I'm kind of a creep. Okay, so
Okay.
every client ever, and myself included, all of us have an ex emotional manifestor. It's like a fucking coming of age story to have to date an
Mm,
emotional manifestor.
right. Probably a musician.
I wish, might have been more entertaining. I would love to know, like, have you felt like people just come at you for a relationship so that they can get their like hero's journey? Or do you feel like a coming of age story for anyone? Or what is your relationship experience on the other side?
I'm not very approachable. um I don't know. This the repelling aura is a real thing. Um People think I'm bubbly at first, but then it takes a while to really get to know me. Um you were talking about like romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, I don't think people are like walking up to me trying to, no, that doesn't happen. Maybe like in my 20 years ago, stuff like that would happen. I don't know. What's the question again?
I was like, am I allowed to ask if you're in a relationship? You can pass me on that one, but are you in a relationship?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. So
I don't think so.
I'm like, I want to
No.
know what it feels like to be. Well, I'm never going to know what it feels like to be the emotional manifester, but I only get the stories of the people who have dated them. I'm not getting a lot of emotional manifestors telling me like she really just wanted to use me for that whatever initiation she needed or whatever catalyst she needed or whatever because she was there and then
Man, I'm like, I just don't have a lot of data to share. Like, I've just been like, I've only had like maybe 5 or 6 relationships that I would like call relationships. And the longest one was less than 3 years. And it's typically like, oh, like 3 years between them a lot of the time. So it's just one of these things that I've come to accept that I'm just not an expert in.
how many times have you been in love?
That's a good question. I've thought I was in love like, good half a dozen times, I bet.
Is there
But then
something
it always turns into like, well, I just didn't know what love was.
Okay, I'm so curious about that because like you also have two emotional waves that you got to deal with in regards to this. So is does love did you used to think it was a high or
um, I used to think it was the passion,
Mhm.
and all the passion and desire too of those waves. Um, but yeah, if there wasn't passion, it like wasn't worth it. Like if it wasn't this like, let's sneak away and like be bad, like right now, like I just like wanted this like very, I thought that without that, then it wasn't worth anything. But then my longest relationship ever was the least passionate one.
Did it lead you to think that passion has something to do with like instability or something burning out faster?
No,
No.
I mean, I don't know if I would. I just wouldn't try to explain that with that. I would just be like, yeah, everything fucking burns out. There goes another burnout. Yeah,
Okay.
well, guess that one didn't work either. Like, look at me and I'll always be like this,
I have the
you know?
least understanding of your profile lines in relationships because I know the three. I know what I am to be a three. I'm a fucking piece of work, all right? And then fours are their own thing. It's like fours, you almost can't shake them off. Whereas I'm I'm not quite sure how to see the two or the five in terms of relationship dynamics. You need someone to hermit with. You need someone that you can have in your own little space. What does it take for you to be comfortable with someone in your zone? Get out of
I'm
my
such a hermit. I have 11 second lines. And so I have 11 second lines and 4 fifth lines. So I'm like, um, more than half of my activations are projections. And like, yeah, those second lines, I mean, I literally will not have a conversation for like 2 days in a row, other than like my cats and like often Apple Care. It'll be like
awesome.
my like moment with a person, just like, please help me with Final Cut Pro. But yeah, I it's it's very very hermity. There's a couple of people who live in the house, so there's some short conversations, but I don't even know. I mean, I've never had the live together girlfriend. I've never I've never even had the like we're partners girlfriend. I've had mostly the I'm I'm gonna be your defiant teenage daughter girlfriend. Like let's play this game where like I say I'm coming over after work, but instead I stay out till 2 in the morning.
Oh
You know,
God.
like and that was like just shitty. Like I never really had the like, hey, let's do this together. Like, are you gonna ruin Christmas? Like, no, neither am I. Cool. All right, let's go to my mom's house. It's gonna be normal. That thing. Like, I never really got that experience.
Okay. And then I know, I'm just sorry, just I know that if you're going to mom's for Christmas, your alternating determination in Christmas is way too overwhelming. And so then you're probably not feeling that good.
No, I was trying to just think of like a conventional example. I'm all about the tribal dinner parties and stuff. I love the holidays, and I was a chef for like my whole life before human design. So like I'm very into food, even if I don't necessarily digest it very
You were a
well.
vegan chef, weren't you?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because that was my niche that I just ended up in. I wasn't vegan. Like I just was a vegan chef. Because my friend asked me to be. I had experience doing vegetarian vegan, like working at vegetarian vegan restaurants and stuff, and I had been vegetarian earlier in my life, and then it was at a poker game. We're playing cards, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to come like make food for my customers?" And so it turned into me doing. It was a grab and go place, so wasn't a restaurant where you like there's a line. It was a commissary where you make a bunch of stuff and distribute it to a bunch of stores. But yeah, it just kind of turned into my thing that I knew how to do. It was like an interpretive thing. You come up with it had a lot to do with um giving that an experience to people that they typically don't get to have because they're abstaining from something. So you like try to like, don't you miss lasagna? Like, here you go, that kind of thing. And like lots of it started off raw, all raw foods, and then we started doing cooked foods too. And then I had some experience with Whole30 and gluten-free stuff and all the elimination diets. So like being a single ingredient eater is sort of still gives me this opportunity to mess around with the you know research and development. I'm currently working on a single ingredient cupcake because I promised that I would.
Like, is it all
I,
banana?
it's all coconut,
Okay. This is very
coconut
cool.
flour, coconut sugar, coconut oil, coconut water, coconut milk. You can do a lot with those things.
I think it's
Also, corn. You can do a hell of a lot with corn.
yeah. Like there are some ingredients that are very, very versatile. And then in also for me, I think this is probably more consecutive than alternating, is I like when things get simplified to the point where you get different either strains or varieties of the same thing. Like I had raw oysters for dinner last night,
Mm.
but I got 6 of 5 different types of oysters. And just the variation in taste between regions for oysters was like more than sufficient for me.
Hell yeah. This is my ultimate luxury food
Really?
forever. Just like if I get to like treat myself to something, oysters for sure.
I finally hit my limit on them. I almost couldn't eat them all last night. It was the first time in my life I've ever hit a limit. That being said, when I eat oysters, I eat a minimum of 2 dozen to myself at a time.
My record is 40.
Nice.
It was in New
Okay.
Orleans at
This
Le
is
Bon
totally a
Temps
first time.
Roulé. They used to have free oysters on Fridays. You just tip the guy and he'd give you like 6 oysters. So
40.
yeah, 40. It was like being on drugs. Like it was very, very speedy.
Yeah. There's like I just ate living whole creatures and now there's like 40 of them inside of me. Like
Yeah.
and when I stab them, I'm like, do you feel this? Because I don't hear anything, right? Like, I don't know. A little morbid, maybe. Just to split a
That's
puncher
because
over.
their mouth has been taken away.
Okay. Okay, hold on. I had 2 different directions I wanted to go based on this food. Part of me was like tribal food, tribal holidays, tribal cooking. Okay, like get me into circuitry because you have one of each circuit type for channels. We got one tribal, one individual, one collective. Can you suss out the difference? Do you feel like you get along with everybody? Are you like easy to compromise with or
Yeah, I get along with. I feel like I do get along with most people at first, at least. Maybe not. Not that like everybody likes me, but like I think I have the potential to schmooze. Like I can. I don't just be like, oh fuck that person. Like I'm not gonna. Well, yes, I am like that actually, but not just based on some general thing. Like I don't know. I have the potential to. I can small talk. You know, like I don't. I'm not just be like fuck that. Like I'm do exactly what I want all the time. Like I'm all constantly like trying to gain favor with strangers. I don't know. And yeah, I definitely feel connected to all the circuitries. Like when somebody doesn't have all of them, or if somebody's just one of them, it feels very obvious, or you know what I mean? Like
is
I
it
can,
super
like,
obvious that I'm only tribal?
well, I'm not super obvious, but it
Pretty
makes
obvious to
sense.
me.
It is, it's, I'm not going to go into detail, but
I'm a piece of work. I am clearly just a tribal person.
when people aren't tribal, like that's when I notice it. You know what I mean? Just that, because people are either tribal or not, and then when they don't put a value on certain tribal ways and you are tribal, like it, you kind of always feel a little bit like, oh well, they're not, they're not really worth the bargain, like they're not gonna, not worth it, but it's like there's you don't make, there's no deal,
Yeah, I
you
can't
know.
make a
That's like
bargain with
those
someone
people
who's so
can
tribal.
just like, they disappear. The tribal people are like a little more loyal, like there's no, I don't know. And that's something that it's not like a, it's not a deciding factor, but it's like something that I'm glad I know that about people, because now it's like when people aren't tribal, I'll just be like, oh, they're just not tribal.
Mhm.
Whereas before it was, there's always this, like you could really justify your belief in them, like not living up to something, or like, wronging you or whatever it was. But I think there's just a little bit more ease in like being with other tribal people. There's like this understanding. It's like I got your back, you know?
It is way easier to maintain a home with somebody who has some piece of tribal definition in them, because otherwise the one with the tribal definition is always going to do home type chores. It's like a natural, you just have no one to bargain with at that point, so it can be really really like I don't think I'll ever be able to have anyone live with me in the future that doesn't have at least a piece of tribal circuitry, because we will live in the home totally differently.
Someone who has only one tribal gate.
Which gate?
I don't
45.
remember. Right? I don't remember.
Oh god, hold on, you don't have a 45, do you?
I don't.
Okay, I have a thing with 45s. I get stuck to them.
Hmm.
Okay, i I'm gonna switch for a second, because this one it came in a visual, and I wanted to know how close or how way off the mark I was in terms of what an identifying an urge or the beginning of a manifestation is going to be. Like the words that came for me were speck, ping, pulse, nudge, and it was almost like a marble that would grow the closer it got to your throat. Like it's almost like a speck of dust pops out of the inside of you somewhere, and it starts to travel around, collecting dust, collecting momentum, collecting size, collecting force, collecting something
Like a
until it
pearl.
comes out. Is that, am I close at all to how you might describe, like, oh, something's coming?
Hmm. There's, I wouldn't say it's always a certain way.
Okay.
Um, why are my lips so red? Do I have like the lip red setting on?
Like the red enhancement because your lamp is also red and your light bulbs are, you have a red light on in your room.
Okay.
I can tell.
It looks, all of a sudden it looks like digital makeup. I'm gonna try to fix it. Okay, so anyways, um, urges. I'm very careful about like making things and finishing things. Touch up my appearance, turn that all the way down, all the way up, down. I'm sorry, everybody in the world. I can't believe how pink my lips
You
look.
don't have to
Never mind.
apologize
It's
for
just
your
gonna
luscious
stay that
lips
way.
thing.
It's just gonna stay that way. So, urges. I'll, God, there's so many different examples. There's like so many different kinds of manifestations, because, there's like long projects, there's like big ideas, things that require buying things and setting things up, and like making a really complicated video with green screens and lighting and stuff. And then there's like, I'm just going to throw something together and go on a live and just get a bunch of ideas out and just, man, I don't know what's going to come out. Like there's all these different versions of stuff. And then there's just like daily life manifestations, just things that happen out in the world or on, when you get a phone call or whatever happens. So, and then there's things that I work on for months and they're 90% done and I'm just like, this isn't authentic. I'm not putting it in the world. I'm not finishing it. Like so many things have been done that I just was like, it's not time for it, or it's just not quite right, or it's not done, or and so most of what I do as far as my like creativity is has to do with like waiting for like the really good idea to come and then sort of like letting it happen in a natural way, like letting it just come through me, because I can tell when I'm forcing something, and when I see other people doing it, it just seems so wrong to me, and it takes away all of the authenticity. And so if I can do anything without forcing it, that's going to be the best thing. And so that growing thing inside, I mean, Ross said that manifestors can wait forever. You know, I could just, this awesome idea just like might not, I'm not going to do it until for years. I'll do that someday when I have $5 million to do it. You know, like it's not going to be as cool right now. I'll do this other thing that is going to be right. So I don't know. I don't know about that growing dust ball turning into a pearl. I mean, it does, but there's, I can just let it sit there and just let it sit there forever.
I wonder if you have experience of feeling like you initiated something and then it's almost like you pass the torch, like someone takes it and runs with it, or you take something so far so that somebody else can take it and run with it, but then they don't acknowledge the fact that you gave them the torch in the first place. Do you feel like it happens where you start something and you're not getting?
I wish there was people waiting for torches standing around. Like I've done everything myself so far. I don't have a team. I mean, it would be so cool to work with people on concepts and projects and have somebody who like actually gave a shit about cameras, running cameras. That would be so cool, because I hate it. But I like, there's so much stuff that I do just because no one else is going to do it, and then so many ideas that I think would be so cool, but I'm not going to do them. So yeah, I wish there was a bunch of people standing like this, right, waiting for the batons, but I don't know. We'll see.
Can you manifest support? Like, is that one of those things that you can make happen?
I mean, I'll maybe I'll try to figure out how to do that. I'm such a hermit. I just sit around. Oh my God. Yeah, and we can wait forever. So yeah, the support thing, I don't know, maybe this will turn into something, because it started, our little fractal, our little group, like we're all started like right before COVID. And so that was definitely a time of just all doing it by myself. And that kind of just turned into the part of the charm of it or something, you know? It's like definitely part of the vibe, and it's part of like what makes it intriguing. He's like, how did he do it all himself? But I don't know. I mean, like somebody has to not just be into human design, but also be into the how into making things. And then again, who really cares about the content? It's like we have this idea that creating content is doing human design, and it isn't.
No, it's definitely
And
not. And you're talking to
we're
someone
just,
like nothing but content over here, basically.
I mean, it's awesome because like people need cool stuff that they can relate to, and people are intrigued and want to learn and want to do their experiments and stuff.
Do you notice
But
a difference with innocent motivation making content?
it's part of what I was saying about not forcing anything, you know? Just that, yeah, the, the desire is like it says you need to get out there and make the things and do as much as you can and get as many eyes on you as possible and be the star of somebody's doom scroll for 5 seconds, and then a bunch of people like doom scroll past you and you like see that you got like 1,000 hits in the last hour and you're like so excited and yay, I'm a content creator, and people in the human design world know who I am.
Okay, you know what's funny? I have a very hard time asking or answering the question when people are like, "Oh, what do you do?" When I applied for my mortgage and the bank was like, "What do you do?" Like,
Uh-huh.
uh, the most basic bitch answer I ever give is just influencer. I just do
Oh my
shit
god.
online and eventually I make money. And then if I think that, like, I'll be honest, I used to say human design because I'd be like, maybe they'll ask me about human design. I tell them what I do so I can get my invitation, pick me, pick me. And now because it's what I do for work, when people are like, what do you do for work? I'm just like, I'm online and I walk away. Like, I don't want to talk about human design because, well, at this point, if you're not actually recognizing me and compensating me and asking me to talk about your design, I might as well talk to a wall. So it's,
Also, I'm over like trying to get anybody to be like human what? Like I'm who, if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. I'm not trying to open anyone up to human design. I just don't care. You can go have your non-human design life. There's, I mean, literally 4% of 4% is like less than 2 out of 1,000 or something.
yeah. And I think in the last couple of months, I've started to realize, um, like how ignorant, stupid, dangerous, not self those other like 998 people are in a way that I hadn't understood before. I was naive enough my entire life to think that everybody was born good, everybody has good intentions, everybody is trying to do better, everybody wants to improve, everybody wants to be nicer. Like, I genuinely thought these things about the world. It's been a very painful first 33 years to learn that that is not true. It's easier to be on my own journey now when I realize most people are asleep and they're going to be asleep for a very long time and I should just mind my business.
Right? And they're happy, most of them.
Yeah. They're even happy complaining. You try and get them to stop complaining and they think that they've like lost access to a great toy.
I having my going in and out of giving a shit about human design, because I'll be obsessed with it, and then and then like to hear anybody talking about it just makes me sick, and I have to like I can't even listen to anyone talk about it. It goes in and out like that. And in those times when I can't stand to hear about it is when I have to remind myself, like, this is, most people aren't interested in this. Like, this is what it's like for most people. They don't care about human design. Like it's just not interesting. Like they're not interested in understanding these esoteric ways of explaining themselves. They're doing their thing. Like they absolutely don't care. And so like I know that doesn't just make sense to me. Like I know how it feels to not care about human design.
Mm-hmm.
So to like try to get somebody to like it is stupid.
Okay, so what do you think is the thing that makes you interested in it? Because Ra tells us the manifestor just wants to know their impact, but I don't think that's all there is for you.
Right. It's kind of like I like walking around imagining neutrinos passing through me where my aura is this big and it's like going into people and there's these electromagnetics happening and there's you know the whole universe and the solar system and everything is part of this, like just to be like, okay, there's this contextual, like I want to make videos of what it looks like. I want to like see, I want people, show people like how to visualize all of it. And passenger consciousness, like the idea of us having two souls basically, and just the magnetic monopole and the design crystal are basically in love with each other and they won't ever get to be together again until you die, and they're just like all these things like make it just this big the clockwork of it makes it, I like feeling like I can almost taste like the way things work, and it's just kind of fun to have a way of visualizing it. But there's that side of it, but then there's also there is this excitement about it being an emerging thing that I'm involved in, and there's a lot of people that I've met through it, and it's become like the way that just like a way of meeting people that like we understand each other, and I don't know, it's more than the system. It's like, I know we say there is no human design community, but there kind of is.
I was like, the word community is trying to come out right now. Not to use it either, but there is a sense
Mm-hmm.
of this is more belonging than I felt otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it's just like this fun in a lot of ways, just like this room to where like there's things that haven't been done yet, and there's things that there's so much potential for like creativity, and but then again that's not human design, so I don't know. I'm obsessed with it when I'm obsessed with it, and then I hate it when I hate it.
I really don't like to look at human design content. I really don't like to take in other people's stuff. One, I'm too easily influenced. I'm too easily pulled out of myself. So I just know that sensibly stay away from other people's stuff. I also look at just like who I've been drawn to study. I literally don't take in human design unless it's raw. It is only source-based lectures or Ra's written stuff. I have like there's the most there's a best sound, there's the most clarity, there's the most truth, there's a best frequency in that stuff, and it feels really regulating for me to take in anything from raw. But for most, especially what is on Instagram, it's flat, it's wrong, it's distracted. There's so much of it where I just like, that is not my place to expose myself to things. And I laugh because I'm really not someone who spends any time on social media. I don't watch YouTube even though I'm on it. I don't scroll Instagram even though I'm on it. I just don't do these things. Um, but your content was appealing to me from the first time I saw it. And without knowing that your innocence motivation, the feeling that I get when I engage with your content isn't like someone is trying to make me become anything else. They're just showing me something. And not only is that more entertaining just to be shown something, but I feel like I maintain more of who I am and more of my own sense of authority when I'm engaging with it because it's just in front of me. It's not trying to lead me anywhere. It's not trying to make me become anything. Like, I think that your content is very innocent. I don't get this desire push from you. But how can you tell if you're in one or the other? Do you get a different feeling?
Innocence or desire?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like totally, totally. How do I know when I'm in one or the other? Well, I mean, I get upset in desire. I get all worked up. I get all. I'll start having arguments with imaginary people in my head. You know, just trying to defend whatever idea I comes through my. I like imagine like somebody will say something on the news, and then I'll like start arguing with someone, some imaginary person about it in my head. And I'm totally in desire, you know. Um, Also, just like getting involved in things that aren't my business, or just like feeling like I have to spend a day like figuring out whose dog this is or something. And like sometimes something like that, it's less of a feeling than, well, it's this feeling of like responsibility, like I have to, okay. But it's what I'm trying to say is not so much a feeling as like a just whether I'm going to decide, like, do I have the time to do this? Do I have, and then it'll just be like, oh, I'm in desire. I don't know. This is a tough one. I don't.
Dave, I relate to every single thing you said about that. Like
Okay.
every single one. I'm like, imaginary conversations. Definitely the news does this to me because there's a sense of guilt and responsibility being put out. I struggle with um like emotional events, especially like global emotional events. I do not watch the news for exactly this reason. If I open up a newspaper and they say that there's an orphan somewhere that needs to be adopted, I'm just going to start crying and wondering how
Right.
I'm supposed to go get this orphan. I
I
can
watch the
recognize
news.
this now, but like, there's personal life is one thing, and then using it in work or business is another thing. And desire for me, it's this like this belief that you know where someone needs to go and you have the ability to get them there. And for some reason, you have to implement this. It's like the lead the horse to water kind of thing. Whereas it's more like, no, you're a transitional profile, Sam. You're a fucking bridge. Just be at the water and someone will cross you when the time comes.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
That's so easy for me. And yet, I think that the things that are easy and natural for us are exactly the things that people tried to stop us from doing while we were growing up because that's what the program does. That's all of our not self shit. And so I care. The bystander effect, when I learned what the bystander effect was in university, so just watching something bad happen to somebody else, I could not stop crying. I thought no worse person on the planet could exist than these people. And that's when I realized that that's actually what I meant to be. I'm not meant to be the one that gets involved. I'm supposed to observe and have the account of everything that's going. Like, give my perspective, be detached. It's got this whole role model. It's got individual role model built into it,
Mm.
which is really hard to do. And I mean, I'm a little bit jealous that you have acceptance as your tone, because at least you got 6-6. I literally got fucked over with this. I'm a third line profile with a 6-color motivation with a 3rd color tone. So it's like, try it innocently, but take action on it, but not out of desire or initiation. What?
My conflict with the innocence is my nodes, because I have 38 and 39. So like I think I'm the fighter, and the provocateur, and the one who's out there like trying to make a difference and change things. But it's my nodes. So and the I tend to be caught up in like thinking that that's my personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's sort of where the battle happens for me.
Okay. I feel like I actually got all of my curiosities out. I, how are you doing for attention, bandwidth, time? You ready to wrap it up?
I'm still here. I'm hanging tight, but
I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about, if we had time, was that I just wanted to dig into your video process a little bit, because I went onto YouTube, then I found you on YouTube, crushed a bunch of your videos on YouTube. Desi going by the field is just fucking hilarious to me. I have shown that to quite a few people who finally understand passenger consciousness a little bit better thanks to this video.
the personality episode 1 is what it's called.
Totally. It is freaking hilarious. And it's just so relatable. Like, it's so. Your content doesn't. You're not trying to perfect something and drive people to like some dry conclusion. Like, this is your passenger. This is what it. Like, you wanted to show people. Like you said, you wanted to use your stuff to be able to actually show like the energetic interactions of things. Like, there's it's almost like we see whatever we see, right?
Visualization.
Yeah, we want the overlay of stuff, of concepts we're trying to bring through. Video is definitely, I think, one of your best mediums, but I see you do some projects that are huge. Like, I got mad respect for the human design one, and most people I know couldn't finish that video. So the
Oh, the
fact,
10-minute one.
but in 650-ish clips, I think you said.
Uh-huh.
Where did the want to do that come from?
I every day I okay, this is going to be funny after you saying how you don't watch anybody else's content. I'm looking for other people's content that I do want to engage with. I don't find it very often, but when I first started doing human design, it was COVID, like the very beginning of COVID, literally the beginning of it. Like, I started my experiment on January 25th, and then COVID happened uh, in March 12th, which is my birthday, by the way. So then it's like that's when lockdown started, and so I started. I was ready. I was doing cooking videos, but I wanted to do human design videos, and like that, the way that I learned about most of my learning back then was from waking up in the morning and watching YouTube videos on human design, and that's how I found Jonah, and I just like watching the people. There was a good few dozen like YouTube people back then, and like Facebook was a good place in the beginning, but it turned into just mostly YouTube. And so like I got in this habit of I still do this. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll make my coffee, and then I'll go and do a human design search on YouTube and just filter it by today. So I get like the last 24 hours of human design content on YouTube. And just to see what people are doing, or like what people aren't doing, or just to try to find, there's sometimes somebody's frequency is just like, I've got to like reach out to this person, or I don't know. It's sort of a weird strategic thing that I do, but I do it. So I first just wanted to make a video that showed people how many people like that the human design goes way beyond their little bubble of who, what they think it is, and who they think is important, or who knows anything or whatever. Like, you know, what are the demographics of it, you know? But really, just to, at first I just wanted to show people, like, every day 12 girls have their best friend on their podcast who knows all about human design and can't wait to tell them about it. And so it just like, today so and so is going to be here. I can't wait to talk about this. They're going to tell us all about human design. I can't wait. I'm a projector and you're a projector too, and just let's talk about it. And I just wanted to be like, show people like, human design, human design, human design, human design, human design, blah, 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 human design, human design, human design, human design. And I just, and then I really realized it's not, I'm not going to be able to do this in a simple way. It's like, it's going to have to include more than just these beginners and these teeny boppers and these people who are all these bubble gum excitement thing. It was like, it's not, I'm not, that's not what I'm expressing. I'm expressing like how big this is getting, how many languages people are talking about it in, like how many, you know, it's all different races. It's a lot more men than you think are in it, a lot more. And so, and then it turned into like, well, am I gonna go out of my way to include everybody that I know? Am I gonna, but it was like, no, I'm just gonna barrel through it. I'm just gonna keep collecting clips as fast as I can until I have 10 minutes. And I was like, if it has to be exactly 10 minutes, because if it's shorter, it might as well be 5 minutes. And if it's longer, it might just, it doesn't, what's the point of having it be long or short? It's like exactly 10 minutes is the point. Here's 10 minutes of people saying human design.
Is exactly 10 minutes the point because of what YouTube wants, or because of what you wanted?
No, because of that was, to me, it was like the number, the exact number gave it an intentionality. You know, it was like, it was, otherwise it would be like, oh, this is really long. God, it's so long. Why is it so long? It was like, why is it exactly 10 minutes is a lot different from like, this thing just goes and goes and goes. So it had to be exactly 10.
I definitely watched the whole thing. And by the end of it, my brain was, it didn't recognize the phrase human design. It had turned into a different word, like a one word.
Mm-hmm.
It was,
imagine editing it every day.
I'll be honest, I'm like, how did he even get the clips? Because you would have had to record over other people's stuff and then recut it. Like, what are you screen recording?
Screen recordings from my iPad. And by the way, doing that on Instagram is almost impossible. Like 95% of those clips are from YouTube. Like if I took somebody's clip from Instagram, like I definitely went out of my way to put you in that video.
Thanks. I didn't have my YouTube up for you then at the time. There's not that, and when you're like, there were only a couple dozen people in the beginning. I'm like, well, I don't look for people's content, but there was like one day I searched human design into YouTube just to see what would come up, just to see what everybody else was doing. And I think I looked for about half an hour, and I was like, nope, that's enough influence. If I'm going to go out, I have to go out. I have to do my thing with no awareness of what everybody else is doing. But I'm under the impression that YouTube is still very much like the Wild West for human design. There are nowhere near as many people on YouTube.
I don't know. There's so many.
Why aren't they
There's
gaining more traction? I mean, not that
because
you know
YouTube
that, but
isn't like a social networking platform. It's not. It's just not the same. It's not like you don't have friends on YouTube. You have followers, but they're like you don't know when who liked what or who shared what or any of that stuff. It's just a resource. So people who rock out on YouTube, I mean, they're putting in so much work.
now that I've been
I
doing a
mean,
video a week for like 14 weeks, on one hand, I'm like, whoa, like I'm really surprised that I'm actually doing all of this consistently. And yet at the same time, the more consistent I am about it, the more regulating it feels for me. But I'm a gate, my son is a gate 5. Like the more I can hit the same pattern over and over and over and over, especially being quad left, it's almost like a form of medication or a form of support for me.
I wish I could be ritualistic with my creativity, but I I'm not,
You're
and
the
I
other
don't
side, you're
have
15.
the no defined ego. So I it just comes when it comes. I wish I could just be dedicated and consistent. I mean, like that's all. That's what you. It's pretty much all you have to do to to make it in social media. And as a content creator, just be consistent. That's all you have to do.
I'm a little
And I
bit
can't.
concerned actually for myself on this one because my ego is so financially motivated. YouTube is by far the thing I spend the most time on with the least reward out of it. Like I'm not monetized or anything. And so
Mm-hmm.
currently I spend like I probably dedicate a full 24 hours a week to getting ready, recording, editing, and putting it out. And that's not including uploading. God forbid it. Uploading takes fucking ever sometimes. And so I'm putting a solid amount of time into this. And if my ego is still like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. This tells me there better be like a fucking pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that my ego can see that I can't see. Because otherwise, there will be a day where I go to try and record and I accidentally like smash the computer and start to burn. My ego burns me from the inside out. It is. My ex emotional manifestor looked at me a month ago and said, I think between the two of us, you've got the bigger anger problem. And I keep those things very stuck where they're in a certain place. I deal with these things, but it controls my work more than anything because it's where if I'm going to get any energy, it's where it's coming from. And I'm kind of amazed it's still giving me the energy for this because it better monetize at some point. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it.
I am so intrigued by the defined ego. I
Me
feel like
too.
you guys can just like drill through mountains.
Mm-hmm. To like very much to our own detriment,
Detriment.
but also like to my own like saving. Like the place where my ego like literally want to like bow down and kiss my own ego's ass when I think about this is is getting divorced because I took no support. I asked for no support and it very much came across as me being stubborn and prideful, but it was entirely necessary. It was like my ego was waiting my whole life for me to realize it existed. It's also unconscious. And so it was like when I finally realized it existed, could be used, wanted to work for me, and I like there was a sense of determination in myself for it. It gave me what I wanted. It took me exactly
Did
where
you
I
have
wanted
the
to go.
vocabulary for that at the time, or is this before human design?
I initiated my divorce in when I was 27. And so Saturn return is like the process of me getting divorced and changing careers and all of that stuff. And I'm very fucking tribal. And at the point when I was still married, like stay at home, mom, wife, I'm waking up in the morning. I'm making my husband's lunch before he goes to work. I ran a hobby farm, like pigs, chickens, bunnies. I had everything. I had the whole garden. I'm a immigrant farm raised family kid. Like but also I can totally see like splenic innocence. Like there's just me being so existential and just doing whatever is coming up for me, whatever grabs my focus, whatever is like just living my own little life and minding my own little business and living with my little family. Maven was all I really wanted. I really fucking wanted to be a mom. Like, cannot get rid of that biological drive to be a mom. Also, once I got one, I'm good on. I'm good on one. Biological drive fulfilled. Genetic imperative did it. Um, but I I'm so raised to think that a man is supposed to be a provider. And so for me to admit that that wasn't the situation with my husband and that he was not going to be able to provide what I actually wanted and needed. And then it's like, oh shit, I got
You
to
could
be
keep
that
your
husband.
damn money. I got my own shit going on.
Literally, when I got divorced, all I asked for, all I told my lawyer I wanted, I said I wanted nothing. And he said, if you won't let me ask for money, let me ask for time. Let me buy you time. Let me give you 2 years where nobody can change your living circumstance. He can't ask you to sell the house or anything. 2 years to prove self-employment history. So I had 2 years to prove, and I completely surpassed my married income, bought out my ex-husband. I paid for the whole house. I gave plenty of money away in this situation. I said, don't give me child support. I never asked for any spousal support. I literally wanted nothing because
Mm-hmm.
how good I feel to be able to walk away and know that I gave myself all the support I need.
Bond broken.
Bond fucking broken. Okay, this is also a good one. Bond's like third lines. We're stupid. We run back into bad relationships repeatedly a lot of the time, and I gotta say, like when things were done with that man, they are like almost every other relationship. I'm like, how you doing? A couple months later, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then no, but that one is just like there's your pre-Saturn return. Nothing in my life can come back pre-Saturn. Nothing from pre-Saturn is attractive. There is no there's no looking back there anymore. But if I've known you since Saturn return, careful if you come near me.
Hmm. I'm trying to see if I have any similar people. I guess not. Or I just haven't thought of it that way.
I think being a 3-6 has a lot to do with it because pre-Saturn return, it
Right.
was nothing but third line. And now at least there's
Mm-hmm.
this part of me that's like, all right, girl, come on, step it up. Get up to the roof. Like literally fucking step it up. You can do better.
I looked at your chart and I was surprised to find that you only have two third lines.
Literally only my personality is a third line. I'm
Right.
mostly fours and sixes.
Actually, you're a third line with one fifth line, and I'm a fifth line with one third line.
What's my 1-5? And what's your 1-3?
My third line is 34
34.
3 in detriment.
Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. All this power. Who knows what to do with it?
I also have the 34 6.
Oh, and I'm a 52-5. Interesting.
These are the kind of conversations that human design people have.
No, we started comparing paces.
This is just like, the kind of you talk about when you're just like chat, like hanging out on the phone with your human design friends at 11 o'clock at night. How many fourth lines do you have?
My third line is stuck in, transitoriness. And for a couple of years, which is so fucking obvious to anybody who sees me or watches me. Oh, Sam started traveling. Oh, Sam tried a new relationship. Oh, Sam broke the bond again from a relationship. Oh, look at her processing. I feel. It's my only fucking throat gate. I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like. I'll be honest, you do it too, but you're also feelings cognition.
Well, I mean, I've got the whole channel though, so
Yeah. What?
um
It's okay. Okay. Amy Lee, Aussie Amy Lee. She is one of the only people that I've asked to do a session for me. She's like the only person who's, yep. And I talked to her when Transitoriness turned on about a year and a half ago. Oh, God, it's been on for so long. And I just kept being like, I'm going to travel and I'm going to do this in my business. And she was just like, yeah, Sam, don't forget about the sexual crisis part. Hey,
Oh,
Sam, remember the sexual crisis? So how much of this 36 is really just about the sexual crisis?
that's a question?
Yeah.
Oh man, you should have asked me in my 30s. It's
Too
like
wise for crisis now.
a lot of crisis in that decade. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I have an objective way of seeing this.
Oh, I have a really, I'm pushing it here, but would you say that you have experienced exactly the kind of sex that you hope to experience in your life?
I might have gotten a taste of it.
Do you think there's still more?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always, with the experiential way, there's always something. It never ends. There's always this um, desire is the proper keynote to have new experiences, even if it's just once or whatever. But I mean, that's kind of like the whole point is if there isn't something that you're desiring, then you're desiring something to desire.
Oh God. I've got 35 and 30 hanging. So there's like, I'm pre-programmed to be looking for some of these experiences here. I'm
Go
pre-programmed
for
to be
it.
very attracted to the other side of that channel, that's for sure.
When at 36, when Neptune moves out of 36, it goes into 25, which is going to give me
Stop.
uh, at least a couple of years of initiation, which I'm actually looking forward to.
Interesting. You're gonna get your ego turned on for a few years. Oh, all right. Fair
I
trade.
like that channel a lot.
I'll take your transitoriness for now. We'll see what happens when you get the ego.
You better look out, y'all.
Okay, last question about transitoriness. Have you ever had sex in a canoe?
I have not.
Okay, because that is
But
by
I
far.
mean, not that I wouldn't try to, but I'm just not not a big water activity person, but sure.
I'm not a good enough swimmer. I know that for a
Yeah,
fact.
I'm not good in water. You would think as a triple Pisces I'd be a little more accustomed to it, but
You're triple Pisces?
well, I mean, not my Sun, Venus, Mercury,
That's a lot of Pisces.
three Mitra gates in my personality side.
You just feel like a whole bucket of water in a skin suit or what?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
With two waves.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Let's wrap it up here.
All right.
Let's tell everybody where they can find your content if they want to take it all in like I did. What's your YouTube?
When I feel like it, I put content on YouTube and Instagram and sometimes on TikTok. And my handle is Neutrino Radio, NEUTRINO Radio, two words, one word, sorry, two, one, both capitalized, one word.
Neutrino,
And
one of the most important words.
sometimes there's an at, sometimes there's an underscore, sometimes there's a dash, but Neutrino Radio, you'll see my little logo looks like a neutrino with a radio symbol. And please like and follow.
Like and subscribe and follow me
Like
here.
and subscribe. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Dave.
Thanks for having me.